Hey there. All right, so I just wanted to talk a little bit about recording equipment and its plug-in counterpart. So obviously, there's a lot of plugins out there these days, okay? A lot. I think every piece of gear, every significant piece of gear has been reproduced in the form of a plugin for a fraction of the cost, okay? So it's pretty amazing. We live in amazing times. And I'll be honest with you, it's just mind boggling. The quality that you can get for the price, like especially with Waves plugins, which are super cheap. Of course, their Universal Audio counterparts are a lot more expensive, and there are other companies that make plugins as well. There's a lot of companies these days that make a lot of plugins. Waves is a big one though, because Waves, the quality is there and it's pretty cheap compared to other companies. Now, the question, of course, has always been, is the plugin good enough? Can I get away with the plugin without having to buy expensive gear? So can you get away with a plugin? And as you can see over here, and I've got some other gear over here. I don't have a lot. This is a Songwriter studio. Okay, this is not a pro studio or anything like that. Although some of this gear you can find in pro studios. Over the years, I've acquired a few of these, and I just found that it makes the difference. I have all of these in a plugin format except for the Chandler, the LTD2. I don't know. I don't think there's a plugin for that. But the Distressor there is, the 1176, there's, I don't know how many companies have made a plugin out of this thing. It's not even normal. The 6176, I think there is as well. And the a Little Freak EQ by Empirical Labs, I believe, also has the plugin. I don't have it. I don't have that plugin. But I have tried that. I had an LA2A as well, and I have the plugin. I had the hardware, the plugin. So, and I did a shootout for myself. I don't really do shootouts. I've done a few, and I've got one more actually. I haven't finished editing it, but I think it's the 1176 and the 6176. Okay. So, because according to Universal Audio, it's the same. It's the 1176N. So that's the 1176N here, this one, right? But the 6176 is supposed to have the same compressor in there. Now, I emailed Universal Audio and asked them about that, but the only thing they said is it's the same compressor, but keep in mind that the chassis of the 6176 is smaller. So that's going to affect the sound somewhat. They were a bit ambiguous about that, I'll be honest with you. So I'm not sure what's up with that. I'm going to release that video soon, though. I'm going to put it up and just that comparison. But normally I don't do hardware shootouts. But having said that, with the plugins, is there a difference? Like for me, I'm not a pro, like I said. I'm not a pro engineer. I'm not a pro mixer. I do these things, but I do them from a songwriter's, viewpoint. And I don't do them as often as a pro mixer or pro engineer or using plugins on a daily, hardware plugins, having both. So take this with a grain of salt, but I have noticed a difference. So with my 1176, this piece of hardware here, I put a vocal through it, and then, split it so that I have the dry signal, the straight up signal, uncompressed, going into my converter through the Neve over here that I have, and into the DAW that I use, which is Reaper, and put the 1176, the Waves version that I have, I put that on it. It ain't the same. Okay, something's missing, and in my ears, okay, it's missing in the low end. That's where it's missing. There's something going on in the low end that is not recreated by the plugin. It's very close. Now, I've heard a lot of shootouts, and I've listened to a lot of interviews of mixers and stuff because I'm very interested in the subject. I studied audio engineering at some point, and I really loved it. Like I said, I'm not a pro or anything, but I love the science and stuff behind it. And the pros are, it's up in the air. It seems like with the real deal, with the hardware, that it does make a difference. Okay, especially when we're talking about over the course of multiple tracks. So we're talking about a whole project. You got a bunch of tracks and you're running hardware through everything, or even better, you're going through a mixer. Chris Lord Algae or Algae. I'm not sure how you pronounce his surname there, but he swears by it. He uses an old SSL that he loves, and that's it for him, right? Where you have, Andrew Sheps, that was a gearhead up until, I don't know, a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, whenever it was that he transitioned in the box. And what that means, for those of you that don't know, is it's just all in the computer, all plugins, all of it, all of it. We're not saying that everything was recorded that way. Okay, so for recording, he still says that you're gonna use a microphone, you're gonna use instruments, you're gonna record amplifiers. Okay, you need good gear to go in to the DAW. But once in the DAW, because remember that he's a mixer, whereas Chris Lord Algae, I think, does everything. He records as well. Not that Andrew Sheps is not also an engineer. He is. He's done a lot of projects, but when it's mix time, he's in the box 100%, and he swears by it, and that's it. Okay, and he's got like a wall of gear, and this guy's got probably more gear than anybody. But there's a lot of mixers that have gone hybrid, so they do a little bit of both. So they mix with both plugins and hardware, and of course the recording part of it is with hardware. And I think that's where you're going to notice the biggest difference is when you're actually going in to the DAW. So, look, it's up in the air. It's up in the air. For those of you that are not sure, don't worry about it too much, because the difference is, if there is a difference, it's negligible. All right. So whatever you can afford and whatever, tickles your fancy. I love this stuff. I love it. This Chandler LTD2, it's got like Neve, original Neve, I think the 2284 or something like that components in it. It's just hand wired, and, all this stuff. It's just like, there's this romantic aspect behind it as well. So I've got a profiler for my guitar, which I love. The profiler, it emulates pretty much any amplifier that's ever, it's just an incredible piece of gear. But I've got my Fender, I got my Marshalls, and I just love them. Is it the same? Is the profiler the same as the JCM 800 that I have over there from the 80s? It sounds very close. In a mix, is it the same? Is it close enough? Yeah, it's close enough. Okay, for me, and especially for my purposes as a songwriter. Okay, and putting out demos, although they are, I want my demos to be high level demos, very high quality. Okay, it's more than good enough. So that's it, guys. That's my 2 cents. Let me know what you think. Send me an email, billy@themelodyexperiment.com. Let me know, what are your thoughts? What do you think? What do you do? Do you use a hybrid like most people out there, like I do? I use plugins as well. I use the hardware to go in, and I use the plugins pretty much exclusively to mix. Okay, pretty much a hybrid setup, which I think is very popular these days. But what do you use? What gear do you love? Let me know. Okay, send me an email, and any other question that you have will go in the Q&A, unless it's something more private and you don't want me to share it on the Q&A. Let me know as well. That's all good. All right, I'll see you next time. Take care.